Okay, that was episode 10 of Mushoku Tensei. They do not waste a single second of the episode. Mm-hmm. They utilize every single second of it, and it makes you feel like it's like a 35, 40-minute episode, but it doesn't at all feel rushed. It is like, I don't know, it's so immersive, too.
I don't know how they fit it all into 20, probably 3 minutes.
Yeah. It's crazy. Obviously it helps that they don't have the OP kind of thing, right?
And that they have the song kind of overlap with movement and kind of showing
and storytelling
of the setting.
It's so good. I think that I was waiting to see them make me feel about characters other than Rudy, I guess, or take Rudy a little bit out of the equation and have less weight leaning on Rudy as a character. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In the way that they utilized Eris and Ruby Jerd this episode towards the end. Like, Rudy was obviously very key to that conversation, no doubt. And that's who Ruby Jerd was grabbing on the shoulder. But seeing such, like, I don't know, the emotions that I felt when Eris was talking, in particular, I'm like, oh, this show has got me. This show has totally got me.
There was also the element of, we've talked about before that this show has a lot of, like, awareness factor.
Yeah.
And there, in that situation, Eris was basically saying what we are aware of is the weight that is on Rudy for all of this to work out. And she was calling upon that, being like, Rudy's the one helping you and me right now.
He's doing this for us.
He's doing all of this work.
Yeah.
He's the one talking to everyone. He's the one coming up with all these plans. The awareness of that, too, that it really is on him. And, wow.
It's interesting because, like, Rudy obviously is Eris's teacher. Mm-hmm. And Eris has known through experience that Rudy has plans and, you know, if she trusts them, a lot of times,
yes.
Yeah, like they work, right? And she has that trust, but now we're plunged into a different world, right? Mm-hmm. This is nothing like Eris is used to. Shown with that, like, an amazing scene of her staying awake and, like, wondering how her family is and if they're gonna make it home. But she's still in this world that obviously when they see a little kid like Rudy, their first thought isn't going to be, oh, we should trust this little kid, you know? Mm-hmm. But Eris knows from her experience that let's trust him.
Right, and she's, like, having fun on this adventure and everything, but I don't think that she would be having fun or feeling so actually confident and not just a front if Rudy wasn't there.
Yeah,
maybe if
definitely.
Ghislaine was there, she'd be a little more confident, but Rudy is a key to the fact that she's not completely, like, fronting and being fakely overconfident.
Without us hearing it or any character saying it out loud, I firmly believe there was, like, internal dialogue of Eris, like an internal monologue being like, okay, I could be really scared right now, but at least I have Rudy here. And because I have Rudy here with me, I know that everything's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Like, and that I believe it. Like, it's so nice to feel that way.
And, like, think about one little sign that we got this episode. It wasn't even really actually little if you think about it, of the fact that Eris trusts Rudy and believes that he will do the best for her and take care of her, is how emotional she got over the breaking of the button or the snap on the cloak that he bought her.
Yeah. And, like, obviously we know how important that is and, like, the layers of Eris is the one with
giving and money.
Yeah, and Eris is, like, we had that whole lesson.
We had lessons we learned.
And then Eris is the one who's usually loaded, and now she understands, like, what money they're dealing with and what money Rudy had previously, and he used that to buy it for Eris, so she understands the importance of it. I've watched other shows or read other media that have similar, like, oh, you bought this for me, so I care about it. And that's sweet. And I like that in stories. And those, like, little, oh, you got me a necklace, so I'm going to take care of it, right? No. It's so much better because earlier in the series, we were shown the teaching of importance for this kind of thing.
Right, and then now the situation is even more serious.
Yeah.
He bought her this cloak, but they're now trying to figure out how to even survive financially. I mean, how much the, like, inn costs and how little pay for the rank jobs that they can get. Like, she is aware that not only is this a sentimental value, but they already are going to be struggling financially. And to even have to think about, oh my God, this thing that was just money was just spent on is now
Yeah.
broken, and now he's going to have to mend it.
But think about what a way to comfort Eris, potentially. I know we're talking about things that necessarily didn't happen on screen, but if Eris feels trust and that everything is going to be okay and security, and knows that they're like potentially tight on money, or even if she doesn't completely understand that, if she sees Rudy spending money to give her something like a cloak that she wanted, I'm sure that would make her feel more like, oh, everything is going to be okay. If Rudy's willing to spend money on this, you know, we're not in that bad of a situation.
Right, and she, even if we go back to last episode, her warming up to Ruijerd could have definitely been quicker because she saw that Rudy was trusting him.
Yeah.
So, oh God, I just love what Eris did in this episode there at the very end.
Yeah, agreed. It's like starting from the beginning, we got her, Eris, like loving the food, right? And loving the being on an adventure.
The being camping, if
Yeah.
you will. Like,
killing your food to eat it. Yeah, and like just like
I doubt she's ever done that.
It's like everything Ghislaine has ever told her, she is starting to experience for herself, and this is what she's wanted to experience, and she's actually getting to. And
but then at the end of the day, what do you want? You kind of want to go home to your own bed. Like, it was fun. It's fun. But then at the end of the day, when it's nighttime and you're looking up at the sky, you're like, oh, I kind of miss home.
See, like, and I don't, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, okay, she like misses home. But in that instance, when she brought it up, I don't think she necessarily cares how long it takes to get home. I think that was maybe the one time this episode we got her to voice a little bit of concern, being like, I guess want reassurance that you think that inevitably we will be home and everything will be okay, right? Yeah. And with that insurance or assurance, then I'll be fine and I can continue being happy, you know? But seeing Rudy not like the food in comparison to...
Well, I mean, she had this giant leg of this wolf-like creature and he was eating worms. And
well...
So I think I'd probably prefer to be eating the thing that wasn't, like, wiggling as I was...
True, but I'm also thinking of it in the sense of, like, yeah, Rudy has all the knowledge of his previous life. And he's, like, saying, I want to eat beef. And
rice.
There are it's a very small downside to like having this like knowledge, but it is a downside, I guess, in a way. Like at the end of the day, he isn't a truly born for the first time adventurer in this life. He is comparing all these experiences to video games or things in his past that he used to experience, you know? And because of that, at the end of the day, he is a little like, fuck, don't get me wrong, I love adventuring and like magic and all that shit, but he doesn't love this side of it necessarily, you know?
I mean, all of this is still totally out of his lived experience. Like, you know, this is when we got those first couple episodes and he was even struggling to leave his front yard for the first like 5 years of his life in this new life. Like, he is now on an adventure. Like, the mental fortitude this has to be so taxing, especially on someone who he even says in this episode, like, I didn't have a job before, but I didn't have to worry about money. And now he's having to worry about all these things while also, you know what he's doing? He's literally caring for his friends and putting himself out there. He walked into that adventurers guild making a complete fool of himself on purpose. And he's doing all of this risk factor, putting himself out there in social situations and caring about the people in his group. He cares about Ruijerd's reputation and making sure he's safe. He cares about getting Eris home. Like, it's just so you can just... If you really think about where this person's like lived experience is and where their comfort level is, and then what you're seeing them now putting themselves into these situations for the sake of others.
I'm just like, man, people are so complex, and I'm thinking that in the sense that Rudy, I think, is right. Like even later in the episode when we see the whole Rudy conversation and Rudy brings up the great line of, I don't want to be afraid of you.
I wrote that down. I don't want to be afraid of you, Ruijerd.
So like, this is like on me, but like during the interaction, like my mind doubts itself and I'm like, how much of this is Rudy like using his knowledge and manipulation to make sure that like to make
saying
sure
it the right way.
Yeah, it was weird. It was a roller coaster because while it was happening, I was like, okay, how much of this is like before the I don't want to be afraid of you? I was like, okay, is Rudy just trying to talk himself out of this specific situation so Rui Jerd doesn't kill any more people or potentially doesn't kill him? But then right after I thought that, Rudy's like, I don't want to be afraid of you, Rui Jerd. And I'm like, well, that's a fucking real feeling. That's like, you know.
This is a great topic that you're bringing up right now with that conversation in mind, because we've talked about it before that we get examples of Rudy, you know, coming up with certain ways to phrase things in order to elicit a certain response or reaction from another person. But I think we've possibly hit on the secret of when those happen is when we get an internal monologue of the older Rudy.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. This felt more of a genuine conversation.
It did. No, it really did. Yeah. It's
so I'm leaning towards that was genuine, and he said that from the heart. Like, I don't want to be afraid of you. I want to be around you. I want to help you. Like, I care about you.
Well, I completely agree, and I completely think that as well. And I'm just addressing the fact that for a second, I like had to weigh the options, right?
We have to think about that because we've been introduced to a character that has outside knowledge, 44 plus years of lived experience and playing video games where he manipulates people for them to like him back.
It's just like it's for hearing a character have so many internal monologues and like think about so many things and how they could like benefit from specific situations. It's like we haven't heard him think like what he was going to get out of helping Rui Jerd in the same way that he has thought about other things. And like what comes off is like, oh, Rui Jerd, we want to like help the Superd's reputation, and then him weighing like, oh yeah, killing people wouldn't do that, you know. I'm like, okay, is any of that fake or what? Like, you know, if he's
like we were given this advice to help Rui Jerd from Man God, but we haven't even gotten any internal monologue of Rudy being like, why am I doing this again? Oh, because that thing told me in my dreams to do it. Why am I trusting Man God? You know, he's not like doubting it, or even like we're not getting any internal monologue of him being like, I don't want to be doing this. I'm only doing it because I was told that it was the smart move to do.
We kind of do. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not necessarily internal monologue, but we get the idea of Rudy talking to Man God being like, do I even have a choice? Like, if is Rudy... Like, Rudy has followed Man God's initial advice with Rui Jerd, saw that it benefited him, and he is doing what Man God says right now because he has the trust and assurance that it would further Rudy's life and journey back.
It's possible.
So
but we also get the line right after from Man God that was like, nope, all of this has been your choice. Yeah. Which, I mean, when we think about how Rudy has acted toward Rui Jerd, like when he first woke up basically and met Rui Jerd, you know, that initial how he acted was definitely probably like, oh, I was just told about this. But then from there, it could possibly give off the feeling that he wasn't thinking as much about that anymore, and he genuinely started to, especially after hearing about Rui Jerd's life.
I'm like,
so it keeps you in this weird place of being like, is he being genuine? Is he trying to gain? Is he just following this advice because he was told that would have the best outcome? Or is there genuine connection or feelings involved here? And they keep us on our toes with that, especially by bringing Rudy out back into his original form, talking to this Man God in the last couple episodes.
I'm like, Man God reminds me of some sort of conscience. Like, because the things that he is saying to do, and then saying, like, I'm not, like, ordering you to do this, you have free will. But the things that he is telling Rudy to do are good things, right? Morally good. Like it's trusting somebody, wanting to help them out and help their reputation, trying to save a cat. And sure, like, it's just Rudy having the knowledge that the karma he is doing or giving is going to be reciprocated.
Yeah.
Would Rudy still be doing these good things without the assurance that he would get something in the end of it, or it would benefit him? at
Well,
the
yeah,
end of the day.
we did wonder if Man God hadn't said anything about Ruijerd,
Yeah.
and he had woken up and saw that someone had saved them and saw it was a superb.
How it would be different.
How it would have been different. And I think I was possibly under the conclusion that at first Rudy would, you know, in self-preservation, just kind of go along with it, you know, until he got maybe to the village, you know, the first village, Roxy's village, and then maybe once he learned the story, he would then want to help him.
Yeah.
Or see some sort of... Because the reason I think that I believe it could be genuine, we can also bring up the fact that Rudy saw similarities and connection between the regret and the despair with Ruijerd. And that was his kind of final calling card. I feel like that he said that of like why he wants to help him.
He already had made it to Roxy's village at that point, you know? Like, he had already done the, like, requirement, I guess, for his preservation at that point. And then that end part was, like, you know, him going the step further.
Right. He didn't need to decide that he was going to help out this reputation. He was nice to Ruijerd. He got to the village he needed to go to. He didn't insist that, like, no, we'll be fine. Like, it's like he was like, I'll help you and you'll help me. Like, we're both getting something out of this, but it doesn't feel as slimy as it possibly could feel.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel as slimy as it possibly could. But it doesn't feel as slimy as it possibly could. But it doesn't feel as slimy as it possibly could.
But it doesn't feel as slimy as it possibly could.